Welcome to Meaningful Mornings. Our sinks, particularly in the kitchen, get quite grimy. Do yours, or is it only in our home that this happens? And instead of using chemical cleaners, we try to use vinegar and baking soda. So I was looking at our baking soda box, and it's from Arm & Hammer. And their slogans are the standard of purity. And another is one box, countless uses. These are really awesome slogans. Just baking soda can be like that. I was thinking this better describes meaningful mornings. Meaningful mornings is not the standard of purity, but it does standardize purity. To wake up early, to focus on satsanga. And one box, countless uses. If you think of how many subjects we've explored in 360 mornings and the applications while driving, relating to others, and so on. Meaningful mornings is baking soda. That's what I'm trying to share. In the previous verse, in verse 24 and 23, Sri Krishna is sharing how the elements cannot affect existence. I'm going to elaborate on that. The relative cannot affect the absolute. Examples: an ornament cannot affect gold. What will a gold ring, what will an earring do to gold? It can't do anything. A wave cannot affect the ocean. More waves, less waves, it's all the ocean. The elements that we're forever living in cannot affect existence or sat or the spirit. More about these elements. The 5 elements that are being referred to, they often have icons or devas that are associated with them. Like the icon for seeing is Surya, or the sun. Have you all come across that? Okay. Each of these elements is associated with one of our senses. Space is associated with sound or hearing. Air is associated with touch. You can't touch space, but you can touch air. Fire is associated with seeing. You can't see air, you can see fire. It's the first element you can see. Water is associated with tasting. Anything that doesn't contain water is tasteless. And earth is associated with smelling. Fire, water, etc. They don't have a fragrance, but the earth does. So the elements are associated with devas. The elements are associated with senses. And Sri Krishna has shared that these elements, they can do nothing to existence. And see the symbolism. The devas cannot affect Bhagavan. The senses cannot affect the spirit. There is such depth to the explanation and the examples that Sri Krishna is giving. Reflect on this. More is shared in verse 25. Avyaktoyam achintoyam avikaryoyam uchyate Tasmad evam viditvainam nanushochitum arhasi. More lakshanas are given, more pointers. The first, I am this. That is the spirit. That is your nature, is avyaktaha, which in English means unmanifest. The implication of this, you are beyond the body and breath. The body perceives that which is manifest. And see how this is a buildup of the elements. 2 verses ago, the spirit cannot be cut. In the previous verse, that was repeated. Now Sri Krishna is summarizing this even more, sharing, your nature is beyond the body and breath. The body and breath are relative. He goes deeper. I am, again, the spirit is achintyaha. Chinta means to be able to think or comprehend. Now we've turned chinta into worrying, correct? Even though that's not what chinta means, but we've made it that. Achintya, this is beyond the mind and intellect. The mind doubts over the spirit. The intellect decides over the spirit. The mind says, this is not the spirit. The intellect says, this is the spirit. Your nature is beyond the mind and intellect. And the more complex lakshana here is uchyate. I am. The spirit is described as avikara. Vikara means to change. Avikara, that which is unchanging. In other words, beyond the ego. Now why? Your nature, the spirit, existence, awareness, joy, does not move. No movement, no change, no effort. Here, change is indicative of no movement and no effort also. If you think of what we're trying to do to be happy, we're moving so much karma, so much change. We're putting in so much effort. These are all activities of the ego. In summary, what does the ego do? It is forcing us to become. And that which is beyond becoming is being. So in this first line, Sri Krishna is telling Prince Arjuna, you are none of the limits that in Vedanta we call as koshas. Body, breath, mind, intellect, ego. You are beyond all of this. Tasmat, therefore, evam viditva enam, what should you be investing in? What should you be living for? Knowing this alone, knowing this only. Because everything else you try to know will change. Everything else you try to invest in will only lead to becoming, will not lead to being. In Devi Chalisa, in the 2nd verse, there's a lovely line that says, Nirankara he jyoti tumari, Tihu loka paili ujiyari. Which means, this verse is describing the Divine Mother, Devi. Your form is formless, Nirankara. And this form is in the form of awareness, jyoti, or light. And this formless form, this lightless light, is spread out everywhere. Why I'm referencing this? We are stuck on forms. We are stuck on limits. And Sri Krishna is training us to go beyond such conceptions. Your form is formless. Your light is lightless. It is not electricity. It is not energy. It is awareness. And this is, if you go back to the previous verse, all-pervading. Space, time, matter. If you know this, we go to the fourth quarter. What will happen? Arhasi, you will not feel. Na anushochitum, you will not feel the fear of death. You will not feel the fear of change. You will not feel fear. In oneness, there is no fear. In Sanskrit, we describe this as Advaita Abhayam. In oneness, there is no fear. The body and breath, the mind and intellect, and the ego, for all of us, is different, is separate. That's why we're so concerned with death and change and fear. Sri Krishna is sharing, you're beyond all of this. Know this. If you know this, death, change, fear, you will be beyond all of that. And this knowing cannot be taken lightly. Like I know a pencil, like I know the stock market, like I know the weather, like I know I have to drive to daycare now. This knowing is feeling. Only when you feel can you benefit. If you don't feel this, you can't benefit from this. Lots of lakshanas or pointers given. From inspiration to application. Your application yesterday was just start to track these pointers. When you write them down, you will naturally reflect on these. Vitamin R3, reading, which we're doing right now. Then if you write, what comes next? Reflecting. For me, one of the most powerful pointers is the word avikara, which means doesn't change, which means no effort. Do you put in effort to be you? See how you put in effort for the body, for the mind, but for your nature, you don't put in any effort. Sugar doesn't put in effort to be sweet. It is its nature. So avikara means effortless. Your application for this morning, I want you to feel the light that is you is the same light in all you interact with. Every human, every animal, every plant, every stone. Feel this lightless, formless presence in all. Shanti, shanti, shantihi. Be safe, be sound, be serene, be happiness.